Hey guys, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. This one, it's not even a joke anymore, is it? This one should be a pretty quick one. No, it really should be. I was just going to mention a few of the more common DTCs, or diagnostic trouble codes. Basically, when you have the engine light come up on your dashboard, it normally means you need to plug in with a scan tool, or if you've already got your whatever sort of device you've chosen to use, like the AutoFix 3210 or the old school scan gauge or whatever other branded device you're using, other apps and whatever sort of thing, you can scan and clear those codes, or you can clear them if they're clearable anyway. So some codes, just kind of like, you know, we can call it ghosts. They'll come up, you'll clear them and you'll never see them again, or very rarely if at all, and sometimes you can't clear them because you've got a fault there still and it needs to be fixed. Now, I could have got prepared and written down some numbers and wrote down exactly what they mean and some of the possibilities, but if they're common, I should know, should be already in my head what all the common ones are and ballpark what they mean is. Remember, we're going to keep it short, so it's not an encyclopedia DTCs. So, looking at this vehicle here, 120 Prado, so we'll be a little bit specific to the 1kd. And I'm not sure if I did this before, but yeah, someone asked, so anyway, we're doing it. So, the most common DTCs, what they are and what do they mean? Okay, so I would say most likely the most common one is the P0400, okay, which there's still people, I suppose this is the other important part of the information, there's still people that when they get a P0400, they go look up what it is, or they look on the, like the AutoFix 3210, the software you use with that, it's actually on the phone. So if you're somewhere where you've got no phone service, yeah, you can still look up what it means, because if you haven't got phone service, you can't Google it. If you don't know what that number is, then you kind of going, oh, what's that? It still doesn't help you by having a number if the device doesn't tell you, if you can't Google it or something, you know what I mean? That's the common thing these days, Google it, still Google it. Anyway, P0400, what it's saying, it's not saying you've got a faulty EGR valve, go and replace your EGR valve. A lot of people tend to make that mistake ordering EGR valves, and that includes Toyota dealers, whatever. We've heard a number of times where them and other supposed turbo specialist or diesel specialist or whatever sort of workshops people have gone to with this problem, they like replacing components related to the code. So, you know, if it says, oh, fuel pressure, whatever, they might just replace the sensor, where, I don't know, it could be the wire, or, you know, it's not always, you know, you might get a code for an oxygen sensor, or the problem might be it's running rich because of, you know, there's something else going on. It's not the sensor's faulty necessarily. Oh, you know, you've got a high fuel pressure or a fuel leak, and, you know, like, well, it could be that, or it could be, you know, it could be a sensor, it could be, you know, something's causing that reading, and the codes come up because it's a high reading out of range, you know, that's too high, that's too low, we're telling you what that is. Not telling you that the sensor's faulty necessarily. It could be, but not always. So, most common one, P0400, it's saying that the EGR flow is too low. So without getting in too much detail, for whatever parameters and settings in the ECU that activate, and I can tell you, I've done the research on it, what causes a P0400, and there's about a handful of things that need to happen at the same time for it to throw that code, by the book, that is. E.g., you know, it might have to be coolant temperatures between that and that, the MAP readings between that and that, the MAF readings between that and that, whatever it is, I can't remember, and that's when it throws the code. So then you go, okay, no worries, so that's what's going on. So let's have a look at those readings. And the funny thing is, when they throw those codes, it's not necessarily right, because it'll throw the code and it's not actually in those conditions, if you know what I mean. Like, it may do it when it's cold, before it's even warmed up to that minimum coolant temperature, for example. So you can't always go back to the books and go, well, okay, that's that, because it's not always right, is the first point I'm trying to make. But what is right is low EGR flow. Don't try and figure out too much how and why and whatever, because you will figure it out if you're good, and let us know when you do. All that matters is, generally, if you've got a P0400, as we've mentioned in our other video, I think it might, if you search our channel P0400, you might even find that video afterwards, what the usual causes are. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the P0400. It is the most common one, so I'm just going to mention things like, usually, not always, usually it happens after somebody's worked on it, okay? Not always. Sometimes things can become blocked up and seize up and be not working correctly, and that's why you get it. So it's a natural thing that can happen. But more commonly, it's when someone's worked on it and they've left vacuum lines off or put them back in the wrong way, and you'd sort of think, well, wouldn't you know straight away? No, you don't, because it takes around about 20 Ks, maybe 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever, from, you know, it's got to be at fault for an amount of time before it says, okay, you know, I've had enough of this. Bada bing, there's your engine light. Now, it's not a really bad one, as in you generally, I haven't experienced or heard of vehicles going into limp motoring like that, so it's just an engine light, it's not a big deal. You can clear it while you're driving, maybe, depending what state, territory and country you're in, whether you're allowed to touch anything other than everything else in the car, like the radio and stuff like that. You can change radio stations and tune it in and all that sort of thing, but you're not even allowed to touch a phone, so you may not be able to touch a scan device to press clear. Anyway, so you work that part out. The point is you can clear it. Right, so I'd say that's the most common one. Yeah, vacuum lines, things like that. The shaft in the EGR cooler can be seized, or it can be tight, it's not working correctly. There can be a build-up of crap in there. Look, can be a number of things related to that. It can be a dirty sensor on the EGR. There's a number of things. So watch the P0400 video. I'm going by memory. I'm pretty sure I did that one already. If you want more info, check that one out. If you can't find it, bad luck. No, just joking. If you can't find it, maybe I was dreaming about that one. Maybe I was dreaming, you know, sometimes you have dreams about things and they're not actually real. Sometimes you wish they were real, but they're not. And luckily, some you sort of wish weren't real. You're lucky they're not real, like, you know, the ones with lots of snakes or spiders or whatever it is. Anyway, so P0400, check that one out. That's probably the most common. They're the sort of things that cause it. Now, there's not a lot of other really common ones, so we could end up in the video here, and it's already been 7 minutes, but the next most common is probably turbo-related codes. Okay, so I don't think I did this video already. People wouldn't be asking if I already did it. Surely you would have searched the channel, wouldn't you? You know, common DTCs or DTCs or turbo problems. Maybe under turbo or something like that, you'll find a bit more specific information, but there's a P1251 is the probably next most common, P1251. That's a turbo code that it can mean a few different things. So, you know, again, you can look at the literature and it might say, you know, problem with, you know, the wires or the motor or the this or that or the, you know, like there's a few, but I can tell you quite often it's a problem with nothing. More often than not, it's a problem with nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean not a big deal. Sometimes people get to 1251, they clear it and they never see it again. And that's what I mean by it's sometimes nothing, because a lot of the time that happens. It might happen twice in a day and you'll never see it again. It might happen twice in a week and you'll never see it. It might happen once every 6 months. So certainly clear it and see what happens. Next step is you can get down there and lubricate that little linkage from the DC motor. Let's spray some inox there. You can get in probably above the driver's tyre, right? Through that way, put your little spray stick on your can and give that a bit of a lube up. You can try that. You can try cleaning it, you can try lubing it and try and clean any excess off afterwards, but I'd certainly prefer that there than rust and corrosion. But it is going to possibly attract some dirt, which is why I say spray it to lube it and prevent, and then wash it off afterwards. I don't know if you get me with that, but sort of spraying things on to stop rust and corrosion can leave it all oily and greasy and this sort of thing. So it's kind of like a spray on, let it penetrate, soak in, and then wash it off. But you're washing it off. It's kind of like it leaves a little bit behind, but not that much that all the dirt and everything sticks to it. I hope you know what I mean there. So that often works. Quite often people have contacted me, and unfortunately the reason, you know, if you haven't worked it out yet, the reason I'm doing the videos is I'm very busy, flat chat in the workshop and on the parts, and it's sort of heading towards the parts side of the business is keeping us that busy that there's going to be a lot less happening in the Prado hospital. So putting the video information out there for you guys is going to be in replacement of taking calls. So of course I can't take calls. I'm not a tech hotline service that takes calls all day because we're very busy. So I figured out a little while ago, if I put it all in videos, there it is. When you've got that problem, you just search the channel and find the answer to your problem. So we're going to expand the channel information and concentrate on supplying on the parts side of the business and the workshop side of things. Our regular clients base is already full. It's been full for a while, so unfortunately we can't accept any new customers at the moment. If you are very close by, you've got a quick job, or you just want to get something checked once a year or every 2 years or something, we might be able to help out. So you can always, like all inquiries, shoot us a text message to ask that question. But so the idea is, yep, you search, you search P1251. So I'll try and put all these numbers in the name of the video, or the tags, or the description, or whatever the case may be. So hopefully you can find it. And so P1251, a lot of people, it's no news is good news. You don't hear back from them. You say, oh, do this, do that, and you don't hear anything. And of the few people that I haven't heard back from, that I know, that I've said, hey, so what happened with that 1251? Oh yeah, it's fine, which I'm pretty sure you heard me say that before in another video, because it's just the experiences we've had. Oh yeah, it's fine. There's a number of people I know that have had a 1251 that haven't gone and replaced their turbo or their stepper motor or anything else. Some people have cleaned and lubed that arm. Some people have got lucky. 1251's a bit different to a 400 though. It does put it in limp mode as well. So you do need to stop the vehicle, clear it, and restart it to get it out of limp mode, etc. So now there's another code that's I don't know if it's the third most common or whatever. I don't want to get too technical here. We certainly don't see a lot of other DTCs come up. They're your kind of weird ones that can pop up every now and then. And I can't remember a lot of them as well because they're all weird. I'll take a guess at some of them anyway. So I think there's a 0046 which is also turbo related. Now when you've got a 0046 and a 1251 together regularly coming up, and you probably more likely have a turbo problem. Not to say you don't with the other codes, but not always, and not necessarily that likely. So if you've got noises coming from your turbo and one of those codes, you may or may not. It could be things aren't working right, and that's why you're getting those noises. So, if your turbo's, it's not a turbo video, but if it's like a siren, then you've got problems by the sounds of it. We can supply you a new turbo delivered to your door, yep. And we've also got a turbo specialist who you can send your turbo to. So if you've got any issues with that, just ask in the VIP group. If you've already purchased parts and you're in there, we can share those repairers or suppliers with you. So the two turbo 1251 0046. I'm just looking around thinking, the other codes you get are is when you leave things unplugged, but that, I don't really need to tell you that. If you're working on the car and you leave the MAF sensor unplugged, you'll get that and you need to plug it in, or the coolant sensor unplugged, for example. They're the two that are sitting here in front of us. Another one, the other common ones, they're not really that common, but they're common, I suppose, when people have worked on vehicles again. When you've done your injectors and you work down around under all this area under here, and you've had your inlet manifold off perhaps, the plug at the back of the common rail, which is the on the pressure relief end of things, if you don't plug that in, I really can't remember the number. I'll be just taking a guess. It's pretty rare. It's only when people leave the plug undone, okay? But when they say the number, it sort of comes back to me, and I know there's someone there watching this video now going, oh yeah, it's this number or whatever. Anyway, that's cool. You can put in the comment what the number is and the description if you like. There you go. For the comments on this video, any DTCs you've had or you know what they are that are common to you and your experience, please put them up. Please explain briefly, description what it is, just for the people watching the video. So if they want to save the video, then they can come back to it later for the extra information. Bit of community helping each other out. So another one is someone had recently actually, it was on the common rail, the sensor at the front. It was just coincidence. He worked on the vehicle. Basically, whatever the code was. Again, it's one of those ones I can't remember, very rare. But as it turned out, it was the sensor, we believe. I think it's all been changed and all fixed up, but we weren't sure because it can be the wiring, the plug, things like that. But I'll say, look, it's a Toyota. The plugs and the wiring are pretty good. Unless you've damaged it, the only other time you can have issues with plugs like on the common rail at the pressure sensor end is if the vehicle's had a chip on it, because they do unplug that common rail sensor and plug that into the wiring. It's like a, you know, what do you call it, piggyback type thing. And having those extra plugs down around that hot area, we have seen them where those plugs get melted and stuff, and you know, so that can be a problem. And previously to you owning the vehicle, perhaps there could have been a chip, the plugs got damaged, chips got removed, plugs got put back on, but things were damaged, remember? So just watch that one. So that's the couple at each end of the common rail. Oh look, there's another one. What is it? 2006 or something like that, maybe. I'm not sure. You can Google it or something. 2006. Like I said, no information you've heard. It's not really super common, but that's, if I've got the right number, that's in the inlet manifold. Those little, we'll call them little butterfly suckers that open and close. They need to be able to move when they're jamming, and that'd be probably completely seized, maybe, or really hard to move. When they can't move, yeah, things aren't working out right. So I think it's a 2006, so that's when you need to remove and clean the inlet manifold. So I suppose that it's not a really common one. Again, that's why I'm not 100% sure about the number, but that's one. You know, we're talking about out of thousands of 1kds, it's probably less than 1 in 1,000, right? You know, the amount of people I deal with and how common or uncommon that happens. What else? You know, nothing. I can't think of anything else on the 1kds. They're the main things, unless I've missed something. People leaving plugs undone, right? If you leave, the only other time you're going to get codes is if you leave plugs undone, which generally a quick search, a quick Google it up, will point you in the right direction. Common codes, I think I've certainly done this in a video. Top 5 DTCs, I reckon. It's starting to come back to me. The other ones, maybe this is more detailed, got some different information, I don't know, but the other common ones that people forget, maybe it was top 5 plugs people forget when they work on 1kds, you know, doing injectors and stuff. So we'll include that towards the end of this as well, which is about now. One of the plugs is the sensor on the throttle body at the back. It's hidden behind, you know, so it's under the intercooler around about there. People forget that plug. They forget this little brown plug here on the VSV on the side. You don't really forget the EGR position sensor. I already mentioned on each end of the common rail, the one at this end, the one at that end. If you do have any of these issues, it's always good to post a video of how the engine's running, so you can put the code up and put a video. And when I've got a video on how to make videos, all right, and you see how we're really steady like this, so you could see and hear what's going on. So if you're making a video, just, you know, go gently, landscape like this, right, like you are there, landscape, because that way, not the other way. The portrait, that's for taking photos, you know, facing like we're doing passports here. No, we're not doing passports. We're doing movies, right? We're doing YouTube movies. So anyway, you got to have it the right way, the same way the TV is on the wall. Bring your camera around here, you know, really slow and steady, because as you move, right, the sound, if the engine's running, the sound moves. Now, if you've got a big problem, it doesn't matter. Just hold it really steady at the front, just like this, so we can see what's going on. And I haven't seen it all, but, you know, as an exaggeration, I say, I've seen it all, the way things run, and you get a fair idea. You can see, oh, that's the pressure sensor, or that's that plug, or whatever, you know. You can sort of tell how they run when, you know, you've seen it all. And the best place to put videos is not on my phone, because it's full and they come up in really poor quality and I can't see anything. So I say, please post your problems, your questions to our Facebook groups. If you're in Australia, Oz Hilux crew, Oz Prado crew, we've got the engine group, the picture's always there. You want me to get it for you quickly? I'll show you. Right, get ready. All right. It's really important to say you got the YouTube channels, right? You got 4 Diesel, you're on that now. The touring channel, that's to do with the vehicles and more of the touring type information, how to use a vehicle, the tracks and the touring. You want to be subscribed to all of those. Depending which engine you got, see those 4 at the top of the picture now. Hashtag whatever your engine is, Forever Crew. And of course above that, Toyota 1kd-ftv injectors and engine. That's everything to do with these, these injectors and engine related information. And then of course only if you're in Australia, because that's why it's called Oz Hilux Crew and Oz Prado Crew. You can only get in those if you're in Australia. And those 2 pages, other information. The Prado Hospital is more aimed towards people wanting to do their own servicing and repairs type information, and the injectors page is more information updates to do with injectors, whatever we can give you at the time. So put your questions up. So if you've got a problem with how the engine's running, then maybe put it in the injectors and engine group, or you could put it in, if you had a 1kd, then you put it in the 1kd group. You know what I mean? Put a video, good videos. You've got a lot of owners there that can help. There's a lot of mechanics, technicians, different specialists in different areas. Particularly in that injector and engine group, 1 in 3 people that join that group, I estimate, are a apprentice or a mechanic or a business owner or a manager or something like that looking for information. But just because they're looking for information doesn't mean they can't help if they want to. And I think it'd be a really good community if people just share the information. So that's a place to be if you can and want to be, and even better if you're there to help. I certainly don't know everything, always learning every day. And I reckon that pretty well covers our DTCs. Or the other common ones, I was just going to finish off. So sometimes people forget this one here, particularly if you've done the timing belt job, because you may unplug that, unclip it there, and sit it over here with these wires, and you've got another spare plug there, don't worry about that. But when it's sitting there, easy enough to forget that. You'll soon figure that out. Look, there's not many other plugs. There's nothing else I can really think of that gets forgotten as far as plugs go. Doing those sort of jobs. So it's a bit of a bada bing, bada boom. I think we're sorted. They're the most common DTCs, which is not really that many on this particular engine. Some of the ways you can move forward into solving them, and of course the most common left undone plugs when changing the injectors, right? So what do we say? Was there any around here? No, it was just that, wasn't it? Coolant temperature sensor, the one on top, the ones on the common rail, the brown plug around the side. So around about 5 as well. Anyway, guys, hopefully you got some information out of that. If you did, please give us a thumbs up so we know we're headed the right direction, and subscribe if you haven't already, and turn the bell on so you don't miss out on the next bit of important information. Thanks for watching. See ya.